And we are live. Sarah and John, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Happy August.
Happy August to you too.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it that this crept up on my calendar and it was like, oh my gosh, it feels like we just had this chat, but it's been a month. And last time we talked about banking and stuff. This time we're talking about domiciles and legal financial statuses and that sort of thing. So, continuing on the conversation.
Fun stuff.
But before we do that, what's going on with you guys? What's new?
I am done working the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. I'm so grateful. It was 24 days in a row of intense different hours and lots of energy put out. And I think there's this misconception that I only did that, but I still had, 3 businesses to run as well, right? And so It was the businesses on and working the rally on top of it. So that's what's going on with me. I am just getting back to things today.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of doing my normal thing. We've been busy planning business retreats, and which is new for us, and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much what
that sounds like fun.
It does sound like fun.
I am in the land of the bears right now, as so many people are. So there's been a lot of bear activity, and we've had fun. Not fun. Interesting. It's interesting to see the damage that they cause when they're trying to eat. But it's just a really rough bear year. So there's a lot of bear activity going on. It's closing down interstates and stuff like that because bears are getting hit, and they're all over the place. So that's what we're doing over here in Colorado, and doing a lot of running multiple businesses, multiple podcasts, and social media and all of that. So just wrangling all the things like you are, Sarah and John, trying to keep the wheels on all the things and the plates spinning, and enjoy some life, right? Get out and have fun.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of wheels and plates. You're absolutely right.
There are a lot of wheels and plates, but we've had some fun moments too. We went, we gave up the RV for a night and went tent camping. That was so much fun. And we're planning the next one. And I'm spending time with kids and grandkids and friends that are here in the area that we're in. So life is good. Yeah. So let's dive into our topic. I think we're all like type A's, ready to just get into the meat and potatoes. Right. And I want to preface it by saying, none of us, excluding Sarah to a certain extent, none of us are experts in any of the topics that we're bringing to the table. We're all just, we are living the life and want to share our experiences, have the conversation, entertain the questions, share what we do, what's worked, what's not worked, and just open up the doors for other people to jump in with their thoughts and comments and questions too. So if you are catching this live or on the replay, feel free to pop your questions in the chat, and we would love to respond for sure. So first question on my agenda, our first topic on my agenda is choosing your domicile. Now, John, I know this is an easy question for you right now, right?
Yes, I'm stuck here.
You are in New Hampshire?
In New Hampshire, yes.
Yeah. So you're and you have a home there and family and all of that.
I do, and my reasons are probably different than most who would be maybe stuck in one place. I just happen to have an autistic son who's 27, who gets some funds from the state, So it keeps us in New Hampshire until I can wrangle all that out.
Right. Well, I think that's important. And I'll talk about my domicile here in a minute, but we made a choice based on external circumstances too. So we're not in one of the big three as our domicile. We're not in South Dakota, Texas, or Florida, although we are considering making that move here shortly. But up to this point, it's made sense for us to keep our domicile in Colorado. And I would be interested. I'd like to hear from Sarah about her, your take on this. But I'd also, John, in a few minutes, would love to hear maybe how you counsel your clients, this sort of thing. So, but Sarah, what are you guys doing for domicile?
Yeah, so we are, I hate to say this out loud, but we're legally in 2 states. So we are still.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. We have our vehicles registered. We have a permanent address in South Dakota. We chose South Dakota originally about when we went on the road about 5 years ago. And so our vehicles are registered. We have a permanent address in the state of South Dakota. I will tell you, we're actually looking at changing that, though, because South Dakota has changed some of their laws, requirements. And while they are very full-time RVer friendly, if you are retired, if you are still working and receiving W-2s from employers at the end of the year, South Dakota may not be the most working full-time RVer friendly state to be domiciled in. So we're looking at some other options currently.
Interesting. Yeah, we're domiciled in Colorado, but our RV is registered in South Dakota. And we are talking about switching over to South Dakota, but you raised some good points, so I might have to look closer into that. One of the reasons we kept ourselves in Colorado is because my husband is still a W-2 employee, and his office is located in Colorado, and we travel back here about 3 months out of the year to for him to work more closely with the office, and then the rest of the year we're out remote. So we're not here 6 months of the year, and we also do a lot of our medical care here. So I think if the state of Colorado ever wanted to fight us about where we're domiciled, I think they would have a strong case to claim us, right? To claim our taxes. However, I have learned recently that with the state of Colorado, as far as income taxes, I don't know if this is a new thing or not, but they now will only collect the months that you're actually in the state earning that income. So we could feasibly be claiming residency somewhere else and pay those income taxes for those months that were not in Colorado. So we're looking at making a shift there. But the other thing is we have a really good auto insurance and on all of our vehicles and everything based in Colorado that we've had for like 30 years. And every time we've gotten an estimate to move it out of state or to move it to a different carrier, it's been more expensive. So those are the kinds of things we look at when we're making a choice. But I do think that in the next year we will be changing. And
That's interesting.
We did have our South Dakota, but I don't know. We'll see.
And I will just speak for our situation. Our vehicle insurance decreased when we moved it to the state of South Dakota, Kimberly. So we were originally in Colorado, and it did decrease moving to South Dakota. And I think, this is important because there's a lot of factors to consider, right? And whether W-2 employment in one state or in multiple states, right, where you spend most of your time. We happen to spend most of our time in Arizona, right? And
Right.
well, I say most, that's not necessarily true, but 2 or 3 months, at the end of the year, and 2 to 3 months at the beginning of the year. And there's really no other state that we spend that much time in. So, I think this is an important conversation to have. Because I think that people really need to look at all the things, right? Do you have a business? What are your business requirements for, taxes and, sales tax and all that kind of stuff, and personal versus business. You just because you are personally domiciled in one state does not mean that your business has to be registered in that state. You can have a business registered in a different state, right? And so there's a lot of bits and pieces to it.
That's so true. John, what's your thoughts?
I'm thinking about you gotta call me off guard. I'm just thinking about what Sarah was saying, and that, yes, you can have a business in different states. And so being a business owner does give you a little more flexibility. But at the same time, you're also supposed to have your business registered in your home state as a foreign entity if it's registered in another state. So there's kind of some ups and downs with that, maybe, but there's also some things where sometimes it's really hard to tell. Like Wyoming has incredible security and privacy. So I don't know how anybody would really know. But I'm sure somebody's figured out a way to find out, because they've probably been trying to do that. So, but it's a very interesting point. Having using your business, using your your actual what you call home together, and maybe they could be different.
Yeah, that is interesting, and something I hadn't really considered, to be honest with you, is setting our businesses up in a different state. I know that used to be a popular thing. I don't know if it still is, but like Delaware, for some reason, was a place that a lot of people set up their LLCs or their
S-Corps, mostly C-Corps in Delaware. And then Nevada used to be a very popular place, now not as popular. Wyoming is still very popular amongst most people, again, like I said, for the privacy issues. And then I know with our clients, we're mostly telling them to set up where they live, unless there's some crazy reason not to. So
why are you giving that advice?
I'm not sure. I'm not the guy who really gives that advice. We have professionals who do that on staff. And so, we've got two IRS enrolled agents, and we've got another guy that's his whole entire job is where you should set up your entity and what structure it should be and all of those things. And so I meant to ask before I came on today, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. So
interesting. That's an interesting thought, though, because it just really maybe depends on your business and how big or small it's going to be, right?
Yes.
How many different states you want to file taxes in.
Yeah, and then there's also some advantages to being in your own state and filing versus maybe trying to do it from another one. At least this is what I've heard. So
do
your own research. I'm not an attorney.
Well, sure, I would think so.
Yeah.
There is a disclaimer in our show notes.
Yes.
We're just talking about what we do, what we know, what we've experienced. But I did think that was an interesting little nugget to find that on Colorado, is that you don't have to pay income taxes if you're not physically in the state earning that income, even if the business you're earning from is in Colorado. So that was interesting. And if you are a W-2 employee somewhere, you might want to look into that for sure.
Oh,
All
for
right.
sure.
Arizona is much the
Oh,
same
okay.
way,
So
right? And I think there's some other states that are
yeah.
very similar to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the previous owners of our RV were Vermont residents, and I don't know what the other issues around it were, but it was really easy. They would renew your registrations over the phone, so they could just call in and renew their registration. But I don't know if there's any other advantages to that.
You can do that in South Dakota, at least with our RV we do.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's another thought. We danced around it a little bit, but there is a common perception. I was under this perception that if you live in a state less than 6 months, you don't have to claim them as your domicile, or you don't have to pay taxes, or a lot of people have this 6-month rule in their head. I have for certain things. Have you guys experienced that or had thoughts around that?
Truthfully, I just send all of this to my CPA and he handles it. So I don't, I always let him know. Truthfully, that's why we hire, professionals that know more.
Yeah.
My CPA was a full-time RVer, so he's very full-time RVer friendly, and so he understands the legalities of owning multiple businesses and traveling and, spending maybe more time in a state that you're not domiciled in and those things. So I'll just speak from my own, I send him all of our stuff and, where we spend, the most time, and he handles the filing and all of that. So.
Very interesting. Okay, well, I'll just throw in there the 6-month rule is something, if you're going by it, you need to make sure you talk to somebody about it and make sure it applies to your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else on domiciles before we move to legal business entities?
Not that I can think of.
I'll just throw in that I think it's cool to talk to other RVers, to get their perspective. But I also think it would be very beneficial to talk to a CPA that is experienced in not just filing taxes, but in true tax code, especially if you have a business, in tax strategy, right? To really dig in and get all the ins and outs of what your specific situation is before you choose, because I wish we would have dug in a little bit deeper, because we might have made a different decision. We just listened to other full-time RVers without really digging in and talking to the CPA before we decided South Dakota. So that would just be my suggestion. Listening to other full-time RVers, their situations, I think is great, but really getting with a professional CPA, going over your specific situation, where you're planning on earning income, how you're planning on, and really ask the ins and outs would be very beneficial.
Agreed.
Yep. Same.
All right, let's talk sole proprietor, LLC, S-Corp, C-Corp. What are you guys doing? Why did you make that choice? How has it worked out?
Who wants to go first? we have one of each. We have my wife's business is a sole proprietorship. She ended up going that direction because that's how she started out originally, and because she's a medical professional, it's very difficult to change your codes with the insurance companies. It can take up to 3 to 6 months or more, and so that's been one of our difficulties. But my company's an LLC. She's a partner in it. Chose that just because of the tax benefits and the privacy and structure of it, so that in terms of legally being a separate entity and having the legal protection. I know that I did talk to our guy who does this internally, and he did say when you get over 250,000 in income to start looking at S-Corp, or in my case, I have, like I said, 27-year-old autistic son. If I were to hire him, I would have to W-2 him, and you either want to start your S-Corp at the very beginning of the year, or you can get a form from the IRS, or sometimes you can just say, oops, I forgot to do this. But you'd have to file 2 separate returns if you end up going into the year. So it's best to start whatever you're doing at the beginning of the year, tax year.
That makes sense.
That's pretty much all I got, I think.
I will tell you, I've done all 3. My husband's an architect, so we opened up a consulting business for him, and the IRS required him to be a sole proprietor. They have a special designation. It's like professional something. And so he was required to do it that way. We have done sole proprietorships for other businesses. We have done LLC. We have done S-Corp for different businesses as well. And I'm just a total transparency. I still don't understand why we did the S-Corp we had a brick and mortar gym. We had an S-Corp for that versus doing an LLC for our other businesses that we've got going. I don't fully understand why. At the time, I think I understood because, I consulted our CPA and professional business consultant as well. But I don't really understand fully the protections or the differences between them. I know with the S-Corp, I had to file a whole separate tax return. With the LLC, that's like an addendum onto our personal taxes.
Right.
So I like that. But
yeah, and you probably had more W-2 employees possibly.
We had contractors. We didn't have any W-2 employees.
Oh, okay. And then the other thing that I didn't say is, having a separate business entity and versus sole proprietorship is you can actually establish business credit. And
true.
I've known a number of people who've had maybe poor personal credit and just established stellar business credit. And then they were able to go back and establish better personal credit because of it. So that can make a huge difference as well.
Sarah, any thoughts?
There's so many variations. I mean, there's so many reasons, truthfully. All 3 of our businesses are DBAs, just sole proprietorships. And that was done by design. And we're very happy with it.
Why are you happy with it?
Because from all the research that I've done, talking to my CPA, there's really from a single member LLC versus a sole proprietorship, the protection. I've got clients that we've gone through this. There's really no different protection. Your personal is still attached to the LLC. Your personal accounts can still be. So there's really no, from my understanding, there's no better protection. It costs more to have your LLC and you are liable for more things, but it doesn't necessarily give you more protection. And until we, get to the certain threshold of, annual gross income that our CPA has suggested to move to an S-Corp, there's no reason for us to. We're not really saving anything in taxes. We're not really, I'm not hiring people. I'm not employing people. I don't plan on it. This is just our own personal. So we're very happy with it. with our decision.
Yeah, and you're right.
Interesting.
It
So
really
with the
isn't.
sole proprietorship setup that you have, is it? Oh, sorry, John.
I was just going to say,
Is that
on
linked
Sarah's,
directly to one or the other of you? Jinx. Go, John.
I'll sneak it in. I was going to say, Sarah is absolutely right in that the real benefit to having an LLC is if you have a multi-member one, and that is what we have. So that does give you significant protections, and that's what we recommend to all of our clients, is having a multi-member LLC. And also we have a very special operating agreement that goes along with that. So those are the things that really protect you legally.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And then my question then was, with the sole proprietorship, can you do a sole proprietorship with a husband, wife, with a spouse, or is it tied directly to one or the other of you?
So one business is just mine. One is actually two are just mine, and one is just his. So they are just listed under a single name.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Can you go back from an LLC to a sole proprietorship? There's a question.
That's a really in-depth answer. Yes and no. You don't just move, just like, moving from, a DBA, a sole proprietorship, to LLC, you have to re-register your name. You get a whole new EIN, everything. It's basically dissolving one to start up another one. So can you move from one to another? Yes, but you are dissolving either way. Going from sole proprietor to LLC, you are basically dissolving one and starting a new one. So it changes your business history, all new business accounts, everything starts over. Same would apply going from LLC back to a DBA. So yes, you can. It's basically like starting a brand new business over.
Right. You also have to dissolve the LLC too, which is extra paperwork, and the same with an S-Corp, you'd have to dissolve them.
Mm-hmm.
So extra expense, extra hoops to jump through.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting discussion. Okay. Where's my next question? And if you guys have anything you want to discuss, pump in here. I just wanted to make sure we had a few things on our plate this afternoon.
I was just going to add to Sarah's, I think what she said originally, she discusses a lot of stuff with her CPA. And I would say that not all CPAs are created equal, and having one that's IRS enrolled or has significant experience with working with the IRS is better than just your average CPA. I've encountered both. Big difference.
How do you go about finding a CPA with that experience?
You can look them up. You can look for an IRS enrolled CPA. I've gone through referrals with different CFOs who've recommended CPAs to me. I actually have a really funny story about a CPA that you probably find kind of humorous, but this is kind of really the difference between what you can get written off with the IRS and what you can't. And so this particular CPA built a monumental aquarium in his office, and of course the IRS questioned whether or not that was a valid use of his funds, and whether he should pay taxes on that, and been able to write it off and all of this. And the CPA says to the IRS agent, he says, well, my clients like it, and I feel like it makes them happier when they're here. I'm happy, I'm more productive, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Got the whole thing written off. No scrutiny from the IRS agent said, okay, that makes perfect sense. So it's all about whether they're willing to take that extra step to get you the deductions you deserve. And I've also had the CPA who said, I want to do your taxes for you. I said, you're now willing to take the deductions that some of the other CPA friends I have would, because you're going to play it safe. So there is that thing. I think in some ways CPA should be more CYA.
Interesting.
If you know what I mean. So just a little example of, look for the right person, ask around for good referrals, and, ask what kinds of things that they have come against the IRS with.
Yeah. I will. Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I don't work with a CPA. Haven't for years. We had a fantastic CPA at one time, and they retired, and I tried a few others, and I was totally disappointed. So I lost the heart for finding a replacement. So I will be probably searching again before the end of this year, so we can have some more structure in our decisions, especially moving toward. So this is another discussion point maybe we can jump into at some point, but moving towards retirement or semi-retirement, you've got to make some different decisions. And so it is important to have, I think, some professionals guiding you on best next steps. But you started the topic of write-offs, and that is the next point in my notes is to, what can you write off? How do you write it off? I know for us, we have 2 offices in our RV that we use for separate business and work. However, we don't solely use those areas for business and work. And so we do not write them off. And I think that maybe is a point that gets missed for some people.
Yeah, it definitely is a point that gets missed. And it's funny you should mention this. I had to make a very significant decision today about my retirement. And this is kind of a funny story. And it's because of all the research I've done with my son and his ability to work and the situation he's in, because he's on SSI. And there's going to be people I know who are listening and going, oh my gosh, I have to deal with the Social Security Administration. And yeah, it's not fun. but on the opposite side, they are valuable for a lot of information. And one of the things that they told me at my last interview with them, because, I have to do this every year for my son, is they said, when you retire, and of course I'm 61 now, I can retire early at 62. And then I heard a video this morning of a CPA actually saying he wasn't going to wait till later to retire, because he said, I don't know if Social Security is really going to be here with all the things that are going on. And I could retire early, invest the difference, or invest that money, and probably make out just as good as if I retired later. Now, in my case, where my son is autistic, is on SSI, and it's very hard to live on under $1,000 a month, he actually gets part of my retirement income and gets converted to a different status of Social Security disability. And so it actually puts him in a better position if I retire early. So I benefit in 2 ways, which a lot of people won't think about, and it's a very particular issue, but I'm sure there's going to be people who are on disability that would like to know that information.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You got to look for all your avenues, right? All of your special circumstances.
And do a lot of research.
Or just call John. He'll tell you.
Or just call me. Yeah, sure. I've done all the research for you. No, it's funny.
Yeah. Sarah, you have office space that is totally dedicated, right? In your RV?
I do. And my experience through my CPA and my own experience is that the IRS does not really recognize dedicated office space in an RV as you're traveling. It's really hard to prove that it is only office space. And so we don't use it as a deduction. Our RV is paid off. It wouldn't change. Even if we could, it wouldn't really change much for us. So we do not take the office deduction.
Right.
There may
now here's
still be
another. Oh, go ahead, John.
Well, there's two things that are at play now. They have the home office deduction. Obviously, I've heard mixed reviews on whether you can take it or not if you're an RVer. That's something I should obviously ask our agent and see what her opinion is on that, because she's directly tied to the IRS. But one of the things you can take, I don't know if you can take the Augusta rule if you're an LLC or a S-Corp. And what that is it's when you have your monthly LLC or S-Corp meeting, and the shareholders or people involved with the company are present. And it's being able to take the deduction of a comparable meeting space in a hotel in your area.
Oh,
and so you might be able to take that. I'm not sure.
interesting.
Ask the tax professional. Yeah.
And then there's the other thing that's common, and this isn't just for nomads, it's for a lot of people. I see conversations where they put their banner or logo on their vehicle or wrap the RV branded for business, and then assume you can deduct all the things, car loan interest, mileage, repairs, maintenance, all that. That's a big no-no, right?
Not necessarily. It depends on,
do tell.
It depends. I think it depends on how much you use it for business. And if you're using it if I'm traveling back and forth to my home office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for example, and I'm talking to people along the way that are other business owners, I could constitute that as a business trip because I am engaging with people about business. So there are a lot of nuances to all of this. And I think it depends on how your, the person who does your taxes reacts to all of these things. But I know that I've been told that
I love how our answers are all pointing back to go ask the professional.
Well, you have to, because we just, as much as I work in that area, I am not really the professional.
Yeah, no, and I think our intent here is not to be the professional. As I said at the very outset of this episode, our intent is to share our experience and what we know or what we've experienced, learned, or what we even have questions about. So I don't want anybody to assume that we're telling you what you should or shouldn't do, other than if you really want a definitive answer, go talk to a professional.
Yeah, I know, right? There definitely are nuances to the RV thing, because I know when I was talking to my business partner, he said, there's a lot of your RV that you could write off for business if we were taking it to client sites, if we're doing this with it and that, and he kind of listed a very large handful of things.
Well, I think it's different if you're a full-time RVer and living in it versus using it for specific business things, right? So there's if you're a full-time RVer and living in it, your ability to write certain things off diminishes because it is your home that you are traveling, right? And,
Right.
back to like what you were asking Kimberly about, like wrapping it and, putting your logo on it and everything. The logo itself, the wrap itself is a business expense, but
Yeah.
the use of
Yes.
the vehicle, right? That's a different situation. And
Yeah.
especially when you're living full time in it,
Mhm.
there was somebody that I will not mention, but somebody pretty famous out there in the world of business and investing, angel investing, and he bought an RV just to drive it around to host money podcasts, right? And investing podcasts. So that would be right, like a full write-off for him because it was purchased and designed just for hosting and recording, the podcast as he moved. But we do default to the professionals, but I also think that I think we have a right and maybe a duty to break up some of the myths that are out there, right?
Yes.
And I think that there's just so many myths that are spread, and I think it causes real harm to people, right? And so we've said it, talk to the professionals, but I want to just circle back, and I hate that term, but I'm going to use it, to what's been brought up a couple of times. In Kimberly, you asked, how do you find like an enrolled agent as a CPA? But I think this is a valid point, right? That you can get referrals, but then what questions are you asking, right? It's one thing to get a referral, but it's a different to really ask the questions that pertain to your situation. They're going to sell you. They want you to hire them, right? And so I would hope, I want people to ask more questions and to really dig in to make sure that they feel that the person they're speaking with does have the ability to help them for their specific situation, right? And it is asking questions of what is there. That's why my CPA, he is an enrolled agent, but he was also a full-time RVer, and that's why I hired him, because he had the experience of running businesses, being in different states, having businesses, run in different states, and traveling, right? So he had that experience under his belt personally. So I felt very confident and comfortable in hiring him, for our situation. And I think it's, I just want to bring that back around to just ask tons and tons and tons of questions. And because there is a difference. I said this, there are CPAs that just do the filing, right? They just input information and they just file it. That might be beneficial for some people, but for others, that's not going to be the right support partner that you need, right?
Right.
And so just looking for a support partner that really does have the experience of a product-based business versus a service-based business versus an online business, right? It makes a big difference in what is deductible, what isn't deductible, how are things filed, right? Estimated court, like there's so many, there is a lot of nuance, but just ask the questions. Ask the questions.
Yeah. And, I went through the same thing with our IRS enrolled agent. And I was just very comfortable with the fact that she's seen everything. She got our accounting program accepted by the IRS to be used in huge businesses. And I, just felt very good about the different questions that we asked her, and she answered. And I wasn't the only one who vetted her. There's a whole bunch of people. So.
Well, and I think that's why I feel strongly, and why we all just felt strongly about creating this particular podcast, is because a lot of the times we don't think about what questions should we be asking. We don't. I know that's the case for me. I don't always know what questions to be asking. And so, why would I hire a CPA? I can do my own taxes on TurboTax. Well, experience tells me that there's some questions maybe I don't have the best answers to, and that TurboTax is not going to be any they're not proactive on my behalf, right? They're only going to work with the information I put in there. And so I think it is important to have conversations like these so people can begin to think of what those questions are for them, you know, or for each of us.
Agreed.
Yeah. Thank you guys both so much for being here today. We need to wrap up our conversation. So any last thoughts or words before we go?
I'll just say ask questions. Ask a ton of questions before you say yes to hiring anybody, before you say yes to, you know, going full time, before you say yes to what type of business structure you should have. Like, just ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of financial nuances to all of the things that we talked about today. And so I'm with Sarah. Ask lots of questions. Ask lots of good questions. Ask lots of questions that pertain to you. Ask questions about similar tax situations that if you're interviewing a CPA that they've dealt with that fit your particular situation. And don't just accept the norm, you know, do go out and try to do better for yourself from a tax side of things. Because I know it's easy enough to just go and file TurboTax, but that's not always the best way to go.
And maybe
It's
we
an
will
awkward frozen. It's an awkward frozen position.
All right. Well, maybe we'll just say that's a wrap, and goodbye for now.
Bye for now.
All right.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I think it's
Yeah, we hear you now.
one of those situations.
Yep. Hey, at least it happened.
Okay.
Again. We're still live.
We are still live. You guys have a great month, and we will see you back here again next month. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and put your questions in the chat.